Hi everybody, and welcome to another great Wednesday with Sis-Stars Show. Have to catch my breath.
Yes.
And it's always wonderful to be here with you. And today we are going to talk a little bit about love versus attachment. And I think that both of us think that is a very juicy and important topic because we can interpret love in so many different ways. So join us as we explore love versus attachment. And of course, that goes to unconditional love as well. What
Mhm.
is unconditional love, right?
Mm.
Today we have Wednesday, February 25th in US and Europe, and our future Australia, Thursday, February 26th. And by the way, tomorrow in our part of the world, US and Europe, we are going to start a wonderful brand new Mercury retrograde. How about that?
Yay.
So things can be a little bit um, chaotic, to say the least. And we can talk briefly about that a little later on. The last show here on Cosmic Sisters was last Wednesday, February 18th, and we talked about judgment and self judgment, relationship to self and others. And that was a really great show, too. And I think that even though some topics may sound like we talked about them before, we probably have, but different angles.
Hmm.
But it's also important to understand that if we want to change our world, and that's why we are trying to make it simple for all of you, so you can understand deeper what's going on, right?
Hmm.
Because the change starts from within. That is, yeah, it's how it works. And we do go live on YouTube every week at youtube.com/at Cosmic Guardians 111/streams and youtube.com/at Angel Place on Earth/streams. And we do stream both for mobile format and for YouTube format. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yes.
And right after the show, we stream on Facebook at facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians. So there you go. So welcome. Let's dive into today's show. How about that?
Wow. What a topic. What a topic. You know, love is in the air, especially in the springtime. The birds do it, the bees do it, and the little fishies in the sea do it. Now that's a song, but it's a great song. So what is this thing that we call love? Songs are consumed with lyrics about falling in love and about the pain of falling out of love. We dress for it, we change for it, how we think. We even cheat and manipulate it for it. But is this love, Anna? Or is this simply the attachment that gives us the illusion of love?
Exactly, because there's a big difference. Love is true love is unconditional always,
Hmm.
and it is expansive. Attachments is constricting, and also, I feel dependent on if I don't get, for instance, this person into my life is going to be miserable. But that is not love, is
That
it?
is not love, no. And we're driven by the need to look and sound and act and even respond in a certain way in order to attract that male or that companion. Is this the high vibration of love, or is this the expression of a lower vibration? Does this come from a need to fit in, or does it come from a desire to be an extension of our own self expression?
I'm just going to say highly. Welcome. We see you. And,
Hi.
you know, there is a moment in every awakening journey when the heart begins to sense the difference between what nourishes and what binds. So
That's right.
whenever I feel something is restricting me, that's a big sign that it's not love we're talking about, right?
Hmm.
It's an attachment. And you can say that it's a moment when we realize that not everything that feels intense is love, and not everything that feels familiar is meant to stay. This moment is very often subtle, yet it marks a profound shift in consciousness. It is the moment we begin to understand the difference between love and attachment.
Exactly. And because love is that highest of all vibrations, it does not require a person to become something or someone that loses their authenticity. Love seeks truth and equality and being true to your higher inner self.
Yes. And as we said before, love is expansive. Attachment is constricting. Love opens, attachment grasps. Love allows. I know you love the word allowing. Both can create connection. Both can shape the way we relate to ourselves and others.
Yes,
The difference lies not in the feeling, but in the intention beneath it. So, what is the intention? As we briefly touched on, right?
that's
To
right.
explore love and attachment is to explore the foundations of our relationships, our inner world, and our capacity to grow. So, if I am with someone in a relationship and they break up with me, um, of course, as sensitive beings, we are going to feel sadness if we don't want to leave, right?
Yes,
But on the other hand, you know, just as an example, if you truly, when you have gathered yourself, it takes a little bit of time, it's a process. But if someone doesn't want to be with me, that means that they really truly don't want to be, right?
exactly.
So can I take myself to that place where I let them, I release them, and I still send love to them. And
Exactly. You
punish
know,
them.
in our society, uh, the whole economy would fall into disrepair because it depends on having us spend millions of dollars on the right car, the most prestigious house, the most expensive perfume, unlimited makeup, and of course, searching for that perfect body. And attachment demands that we fit this criteria, telling us at a very cellular level, we will be alone forever if we do not conform and if we don't find a way to buy these objects.
Exactly. And, one could question oneself. Here goes the questions without coming to the end, right?
Right.
So, how can I determine if someone truly, really loves me or if they are just attached to me?
Oh, now that's a good one. All right. Attachment is excitement and it is thrilling. However, love is forever. Love is going to be uplifting. Love is going to be there. If a person really loves you, if you really need them, they're going to show up. They're always going to have an encouraging word for you. They're not going to give you false encouragement. They're going to be truthful. Where attachment is giving you what you need so they can get you to do what they want you to do.
Exactly. And that would make me feel that if I don't do what they assume I'm going to do or want me to do or expect from me, they are not going to love me, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And unfortunately, women have learned this, and I say this lovingly, but in our own defense of survival, we've had to do a lot of things that really are not the truest of the feminine energy. But women have learned how to be able to control their situation by giving love as a reward. Uh, well, you will do this for me if you love me. You will buy that for me if you love me. I'm not going to talk to you until you get me this particular thing. This is not love.
No,
This is the attachment to and the control, and this is not the way love is. Love gives
no, and
unconditionally.
exactly. And on another note, I talk to quite a lot of people, usually women, but there are also sometimes men doing it, that they think they have love for someone, they have a crush on someone, or they feel romantic, or they want someone, right?
Yes.
And they keep on waiting for them to adapt to them. But and something else. They think that maybe because they won't come around, it's something wrong with them, right? Turning it to themselves,
Exactly.
not loving themselves, because love also means loving oneself. And
Absolutely.
they think of relationships in the terms of black and white. Either you're going to show everything to me or you're going to dismiss me, but that's not what really goes on in reality. You know, it doesn't mean someone can have feelings for you, but maybe they are not strong enough for them to want to build a relationship with you for some reason, right?
That's right.
And that is some way where in the gray zone, right?
Yeah. And and the bond to be connected is something that we and all mammals have in common, and it's essential. That we bond to our mothers, that we bond to our family, and it's different than attachment because that is coming from truth and serenity and security, and knowing that if I need something, it's going to be, I'm going to have the support around me. And the bond, that kind of a bond that is unconditional, is so shown to us by our animals.
Mm.
You know, the dogs and horses, and even I've seen now where geese and chickens will have that bond, and
They have,
they feel, because love is a vibration, it's not an emotion, and when they feel that unconditional vibration, they're going to respond to it. And our animal friends will mourn their human companion as deeply as another human does, or even sometimes more. And
yeah,
this is what the vibration of love in my mind is. It's not, uh, oh, I always feel giddy when I'm around him and I feel beautiful when I'm around it. Well, you need to feel that beauty. You need to feel that love about yourself. If
yeah.
you're depending on someone to make you feel like that, that's attachment. That's not love.
No, it's not love. And animals, they bond in a beautiful way, no
Yes,
matter what they are, right? And they feel it.
exactly.
Um,
I mean, everybody says, "Oh, well, that's just mother love and stuff like that," but it goes beyond that. And when that is nurtured in its purest form, when you grow up, you look for that kind of a bond. You don't look for a gratification or somebody is going to provide for you, and then you have to provide back in a certain way. It's the difference, I think, between, in my mind, attachment is confining and love is free.
Yeah,
Freedom.
freedom.
I,
You
I have
know,
to, yeah.
okay. So love is a state of being, a vibration and energy, like you said, right? It's
Yes.
not dependent on conditions,
No,
expectations, or even outcomes. It is not
absolutely.
something we earn or lose. It is something we embody. Love is spacious. It allows each person to be fully themselves, right? It
Yes.
honors individuality while nurturing connection. It celebrates growth, even when growth leads to new directions, like when we are splitting up, right?
Yeah.
So, releasing someone or leaving someone just be may be the greatest act of love you can, because they are entitled to be who they are. And even though maybe they could be, we can always have opinion about people, right? A very
Exactly.
common opinion is that person could be nicer to me. They could do better, right? But that is expectations, because love does not cling. It does not demand. It does not fear change. Love trusts the natural rhythm of life. It trusts that what is aligned will remain and what is complete will gently fall away. Love is rooted in presence rather than possession. It
Exactly.
is a flow rather than a grip. Love expands
Absolutely.
the heart. It softens the mind. It strengthens the soul. Compared with attachment,
And
attachment,
attachments.
yeah,
May I butt
you,
in here?
yes,
Attachments use and abuse and then throws it away, whether it's a person or a relationship, as easily as changing clothes.
yeah, exactly. Attachment arises from fear, insecurity, and unmet needs. So if you don't respond to me in the way that I um, somehow demand you to do in order to say I love you, because we can also question not only the other side, but my own intention, right?
Mhm.
It is attachment is not wrong or shameful. It is simply a human response to a desire for safety and belonging, like you said, right?
Yeah,
Attachment seeks stability through control. And many people want to control. I want to know what's going to be. Otherwise, I can't relax. That's a very common statement.
exactly. And
It,
yet, and go
it,
ahead.
it tries it tries to hold on to people, situations, or identities because losing them feels threatening. Fear.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. Well, I loved what you said, that attachments can create cycles of conflict. Can you say more about that? Because that's a really great concept. Um, the
Of conflict.
misunderstanding and everything.
When did I say that? Yeah,
Uh,
okay. Yeah,
yes.
okay. Yes. So attachment can create cycles of conflict, misunderstanding, or emotional exhaustion,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes.
It can cause us to project our fears onto others or interpret their actions through the lens of insecurity, blaming myself. So there's something wrong with me, right? It can make us believe that love must be earned or proven, and that is not love.
That that
That is not love.
that is really profound. That kind of sums it up all together. And uh, when you're in a relationship that is attachment, you're always living on the edge of not knowing whether you're going to survive. Uh, it may look like you have a good relationship, But I know in my relationship, I always felt that at any moment he could say it's over. And so I would conform. I would give up part of myself. I would try to project what he thought he wanted rather than ever becoming my true self. And
Exactly.
I mean, he was a kind man, but that's the way we had grown up. That the woman does this, the man does this, and that's perfectly acceptable. So it was, yes, it was not the real love.
Exactly. And many times, we may actually confuse those intense feelings or the vibration that we interpret as feelings, right? Like an emotion,
Yes,
the intensity of it with intimacy and cling to what feels emotionally charged, even when it's not aligned, right?
exactly, exactly. And the fear of abandonment, um, and being rejected, especially when you don't have any self worth, that's a real control factor. And but when you experience that real bond, and I think there again, I keep going back to babies. They really teach us a lot because they feel what's going on and they respond accordingly. If they feel fear, they cry. If they feel love, they giggle. And they don't there's no pretense about it. It is either there or it's not there. And you have to be carefully taught that's not what you want to be feeling. But unconditional love is secure, it's giving, and it does not hurt. It's truthful, but it's truthful in a loving way. And such a difference.
A big difference. So we think that attachment also is some sort of an enemy. No, it's not an enemy, it's a messenger. So if I find myself being attached to someone, then that is a big key and sign for me that there's something maybe I need to consider here. I need to understand within myself. Because when we also love ourselves as we truly are, there is no fear anymore, right?
Yes,
No fear at all.
yes.
Um, Maybe just a brief moment, like a second or 2 seconds, because we have a pattern we have been taught to believe. And I would actually, without playing the blame game, I would actually say that everything we are taught in a way that we don't see as a teaching properly. We are watching romantic movies, we are watching a lot of things, we hear
Yes,
about um, the best version of our friends' relationships. We don't hear the other part, right? Because most people are talking about the good stuff.
yes,
So we grow up thinking, or maybe we have a twisted view of how real love functions.
and that's very true. Um, it's interesting that you were talking about how we mature. After my divorce, I didn't immediately date, but about a year later, I started dating, and all of a sudden, I realized that I was dating the same personality that I had married. It was just a different face. And it was exciting because we were doing different things, but in the end, it was still the same personality. And I paused and I said, I need to work on myself. I need to change the reason that I'm looking for this particular form of attachment, and find a way to I wasn't using these words, of course, way back then. However, I had enough sense to realize that just changing the persona, I was still going to end up with the same situation. And I took time to start working on myself. And when I started actively dating again, I was hoping to find a man who had taken time to find themselves. Um,
Yeah.
didn't always work out, but it was an adventure, and but I did not get myself involved in a relationship that was not going to be for my highest good.
Yeah. So why is it you think, I know you know this, that's why I'm asking you, that people attract um, the same scenario, maybe different packaging?
Because that was their programming. If you grow up thinking that the color orange is yellow, you're always going to see that orange looks like yellow to you, and you will go to the grave. This is yellow. No, this is orange. That's the way we were programmed. It's what we were taught that as a loving situation was supposed to look like. And until you step aside and say, this is not serving my highest good, what do I need to do with me? I can't make everybody change to fit my patterns. So I need to find out what I am looking for. And
Yeah.
it does take a lot of self examination, a lot of self love, mainly self love, and breaking the patterns of what we were told that love looks like. That he
Yeah.
comes in, he's going to save you from everything, and you're going to have this happy ending forever and ever. And then you throw in kids, and you throw in trying to pay the rent, you throw in jobs, and you throw in all this. It doesn't look like that, folks.
No.
So
And
finding you.
yeah, finding yourself, and that goes also with when we are waiting. I've talked to people who have been waiting for someone specific for years, right? I'm not judging when I'm saying it, but sometimes, it that is also not black and white, because they feel if I stop waiting, maybe that person's going to slip away. On
Uh-huh.
another hand, if you release the energy, you release and you say to yourself and to this person, sometimes you just say it out, in the space, right? That I just leave you to decide. It doesn't mean that, it's when we release the energy, it's usually 50-50. It's like coming to that T cross. I call it a T crossing, you know.
Yes. Yes.
We can't move forward doing the same thing over and over and over and waiting and waiting and waiting. So we have to take that chance. Is it going to be left or right? Yes or no, right?
Yes.
So what happens? Yeah, we will be disappointed if it doesn't go our way. But it also releasing the energy also means that sometimes they actually do come around, because we leave the energy to work by itself. We are not hanging onto it. We are not clinging to it. We are not attached to it.
Attached to it. Yes. And and so many times we get I find that people get attached to the idea of what it is supposed to be. And then they follow the criteria. I'm wearing the right makeup, the right perfume, the right this and everything else. And then wow, they attract someone. But that person is also very shallow and has no substance. So when you have a crisis, let's say, like in my situation, our very first child was born with congenital heart problems, and his hands had to have surgery. He had heart surgery at 6 months old. I did choose a good partner. He stayed with me and we worked through it. But in other realities, a woman can get pregnant and the man says, that's not for me, and leaves. So that was an attachment. That was not real love. And yes, love will help resolve a whole lot of things. But to go into a relationship and say, well, this person doesn't want children, but if I have one, he will love me because love will make it happen.
Yeah.
No, because that's going in with attachment. That's going in with a criteria of
Yeah.
will make it happen. Again, control. So it's a interesting.
Exactly. And one could also say that it's not fair to the third part, the child, because
Exactly.
the
Oh
child
yes,
actually deserves to come into this world being wanted by both parties, right?
exactly. Very
So
much so.
for me, that is also manipulation when we manipulate things to get what we want, right?
Yes.
And sometimes we women are good at that.
Oh yes. Yeah.
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 So
Yes.
um, the shift from attachment to love begins inside, within. It begins with self-awareness. It begins with recognizing our patterns, becoming aware of fears and our unmet needs. So if I have this expectation that someone is going to fill my needs, that's also attachment, isn't it? Right?
Very much so. Very much so.
So the shift begins with offering ourselves the compassion we often seek from others, giving it to yourself. And a lot of people are saying that I'm not worth anything. But you set the boundaries already there. Why are you not worth anything? Did someone tell you? Well, you need to discover yourself and find out who you are. Because here's another thing with love and relationships and unconditional love and attachment and everything. If you are have unresolved matters within yourself, you're not going to be easily able to attract someone that are exactly what you want. If you are a needy person, you wouldn't like to find a needy partner, would you? No.
No, they wouldn't fill my needs.
Exactly. So I'm not judging when I'm saying this. I'm just wanting people to start becoming a little bit aware. Do you want to talk a little bit about neediness? How could you express that neediness is?
Uh, Neediness is almost as addictive as attachment. Um, but having a desire that I need someone to always provide for me, that disallows you to see the possibilities of you providing for yourself. I
Yeah,
need someone that's always going to tell me I'm beautiful. And if that person all of a sudden realizes that that is not beauty in their eyes and changes that, we're going to be crushed. So that's an attachment to what I need. And that is not love for self or love for anyone else. And that kind of a needy attachment, I would say, is really that's a real doozy, to be involved with somebody like that, because nothing you're going to do is ever going to fill their needs, because their needs will always multiply and need more and more and more.
yes, yes. And having something unresolved within you, and you meet someone who are mirroring those things to you and are
Yep.
needy or attached, or those things that you will probably recognize and you don't want. that's a sign that you need to work in here. Something is being n- needs to be looked at, right?
We can't get away from
And
that word.
no, 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 we can't. And it's not judgment either, because if you judge yourself, that's not going to help.
No.
We all do the best we can here, and we are, as you said, programmed. We are being fed with all these things and stories and books and movies and everything. This is how it should be, right? Very
Yes,
romantic. Someone on a white horse is going to come in, fall on his knees, and just adore me, right?
exactly. And how long does that last? As long as you are young and beautiful and fair and I mean, how many queens that have had money and everything, and if they don't produce a male heir, they're thrown out like garbage. So
Exactly.
it's there again. That's need. That's attachment. That is not love. On a personal note, when I realized that my marriage of 23 years was coming to an end, um, I knew that I had tried everything within my realm of knowledge to make it work. And when it happened, uh, I didn't get all bent out of shape. Well, it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant. But I had the opportunity to meet with my husband and the woman that he had thought was going to be the light of his light. We met over at the park in a neutral place, and I listened to her saying, "Well, we didn't mean for it to happen." Da 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 da. And I said to her, we both still had small children, and I said, "I love him enough to let him go." And what are we going to do about the situation? Eventually, he did leave and everything else. But my willingness to let him go, what it did was allowed him to expand what he needed to do, but it also gave me freedom. I wasn't going to force him to stay in a situation that he was not going to be happy with. However, what this did for me was it freed me.
Yeah.
It freed me from having to carry the guilt. It freed me of carrying the burden of hating him. It freed me of affecting all my other relationships. And it freed me of the burden of completely destroying the relationship that he might have with his children. Now, excuse me, we have Arizona allergies. He and I, after several years, have become friends. And the woman that he eventually married has turned out to be very loving, and we get along very pleasantly. And every occasion that we have, birthdays and holidays, we're always together. So, what I did for me was by not being attached to what he did, how bad he is, I'm going to make him pay, and all of these things, by letting him go. And it wasn't easy, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's
I
not.
was I was 40 years old and I had a 2-year-old. So it was a challenging time. But on some level I realized that that gift of not being attached and loving him enough to let him go his way uh, just completely changed my life. And we have a good relationship. The kids have a good relationship with him. And I would have never had that had I been attached to the fact that he did that to me and he's going to pay.
Yeah. I've lived through that, me doing it, but within my family. Um, Someone after 50 years, more than 50 years,
Right.
still blaming the other part, right? And, you know, it's no use, because here's the thing also to remember: children, and this is very generally, of course, it depends on what they have experienced. Some kids do experience very horrible things, but I'm not talking about that. I'm
Yes.
talking about kind of ordinary situations. Kids are loyal to both their parents when they are kids. So
Yes.
kids need to grow their own relationship with their parents, and then they can determine, do I feel in alignment with this person? Because sometimes maybe it happens that we don't feel that alignment, even if it is a parent, right?
Exactly.
But it's not nice for the kid, and I experienced that myself, to hear someone talking bad all the time about the other parent.
No.
Um, it is really hard when we are kids, because we can't really cope with it, right? And you did the perfect thing for your
Right.
children.
And for me,
Beautiful. Yes,
because
yes,
I don't have to. I mean, I saved so much money in counseling, and in carrying around that baggage, in ruined relationships, because I didn't carry that baggage with me and have it being something that was going to affect my now. And
yes,
after doing this article, attachment to me is an addiction and a prison, and love is the freedom of the soul.
yes. And when we do our inner work, it transforms the way we relate to others. We
Exactly.
learn we learn to meet our own emotional needs. Attachment softens, right? So
Mhm.
we learn to trust our own worth. Fear loosens its grip. We learn to sit with discomfort rather than avoid it. We become more grounded in ourselves, meaning we grab the bull by the horns, right? So we take the opportunity, because this is also a truth here. We are not going to walk through an entire life sliding through on pink clouds. That's
Oh,
not going to happen.
no, no, that's not true.
No. So, because if we work on ourselves, we will no longer see completion outside of ourselves, right? No one
Exactly.
else can complete us than ours than we. We no longer cling to what is misaligned. We no longer confuse intensity with connection. We begin to choose relationships that nourish rather than drain. We
Exactly.
begin to love from fullness rather than fear. And when I usually say something like this: when I meet someone, I just let them show themselves. It's not a mean thing, and I'm not sitting there spying on them. What
No,
I mean is, just be who you are, and I'm going to be who I am. And that's going to show and save us from a whole lot of troubles. Either we find each other, or we discover that we are not in that much alignment. And that's fine,
that's
right?
good.
That's perfect.
Yes, I know. I've hear this expression sometimes. Oh, this person completes me. Um, and I was a angel with a broken wing, and I found him, and he had a broken wing, and now we go. Well, to me, this is not whole. Um, because if he's got a broken wing and you've got a broken wing, that means you're just half a person. And if you're really, in my opinion, in a love relationship, and this is the way I describe it in the class that I give, there's an island that grows coconuts, and across the bay is an island that grows pineapples. Now, if the coconuts and the pineapples get together, it doesn't become a coca pineapple or a pine of coconut, however you would blend those words. But the water between the two islands becomes a great pina colada because they have joined, but they still stay pineapple, they still say coconut, and they are true to themselves, and each one helps the other grow. But that third entity is the relationship, and it grows from the wholeness of both.
Yes, exactly. And it also means that they will, to find that person you feel in alignment with, you're not going to try to change the other person either, because that's also something very common going on.
Oh,
If I
always.
just behave this way, that person will have to change and adapt to me, or vice
Exactly.
versa, right? Yeah.
So
And and
love,
that
love,
never,
yes, love
go ahead.
means building up that person and making that other person be help them be the best they can be. Because I want a whole person. I don't want somebody that's hasn't done their homework, that hasn't that doesn't love themselves enough, that needs me to fill something within them, because that gets to be really, really hard. After a while, you don't have anything else to give. But if you have two whole people and each one is nourishing the other, this to me is the expression of love, and not dependency or attachment or neediness.
Exactly. And I want to touch something else that's very interesting. Where I met my twin flame, but I find the relationship difficult. And I'm going to now live forever alone.
Well, I heard someone say, uh, who better could you be with than yourself?
Exactly.
You know?
In that sense, we are never alone because we have a lifelong relationship with self. We tend to forget that.
Yes, we do. And myself can get me into all kinds of mischief all by myself. And so so it's I cherish the times that I have with other people. I cherish the times that I have with my male companion. I cherish these times, but I do not uh, define myself by those relationships, because
Exactly.
I also love myself. I love my solitude. I love my gardening. I love my teaching. I love working with people and watch them come out of a catastrophic situation and then they become themselves. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah,
You know, there's always this part where letting go without losing love, right? So one of the greatest lessons in the journey of love is learning that letting go does not mean losing love.
that's
That's a
correct.
fear-based thing.
Yeah.
Love is not tied to form. It is not tied to roles or expectations. It is not tied to permanence. Love can remain even when a relationship changes shape, right? Love
Yes.
can remain even when paths diverge, right? And I actually stayed extremely good friends with at least a couple of my exes. I didn't
Yeah.
have that many.
Yeah.
And that for me is more beautiful than anything else.
Yes.
You know, tend to see things very narrow-minded. So if I meet someone and we marry or we live in a committed relationship for 5, 10, 20 years, that person is mine. No, that person is not mine, and I'm not theirs. We are there together as long as we want to. It doesn't mean that I take it lighthearted to just separate.
Right.
That's not about it. And change partner all the time, because that's another story. We are seeking something else then. We
Yeah.
seek confirmation or something else. But just because we have um, had a relationship for many years and we are not maybe in that phase we feel in alignment and we do separate, doesn't mean that why would I want to make a war with someone I spent so many years with and I still truly love? Doesn't mean that you separate and you cut feelings with the scissors. Doesn't go work like that,
Right.
right?
When I got uh, uh, very sick, I woke up and my ex was in the hospital, and he said, I want to apologize. He said I did everything wrong, and he was apologizing from the bottom of his heart. And I said, if you had not had the courage to let me go, I would never have become who I am. So
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate the fact that when we couldn't make that relationship go, you know, you chose to leave. Now, at that time, it was bumpy and everything else, but he grew to love me and respect me, a love that we have together that we never had when we were together. And because I did not go into that, oh, he's terrible, I'm going to beat him up and everything else and get what I can out of him, and I loved him and let him go, eventually that love really grew, and I can depend on him when I need him, and he can depend on me. And so we went from attachment to a love, but we didn't do it necessarily in the same household. So allowing the process to be, you may never know that just because you weren't living together, that years later you would have another kind of a connection, a stronger connection.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be equally or sometimes maybe more beautiful, to be honest with
Exactly.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
interesting really to talk about these things because they are so very important, to be honest, you know.
Yes.
So choosing love is is a way of being, is a way of living your life. To choose love over attachment is to choose freedom, authenticity, and inner peace.
Mhm.
It is to choose relationships that uplift rather than confine. It is to choose connection that is rooted in truth, as you said, right?
Mhm.
Rather than fear. It is to choose a life guided by the heart rather than by insecurity or our own old personal patterns. So, a big part of the spiritual path, to be honest with you, in my perception, is to work with those things. And even though I meet someone and spend 10 years with someone I consider a soulmate or twin flame or whatever, I call everything soul connection. And there's a reason for it because
Yeah.
there's so much terminology and it gets fluffy. First of all, a twin flame is not a soul cut in two halves. You can't cut a soul in two halves. There's an energy, it's an energetic connection, right? So,
Yes.
soul connections have many different energetic signatures to them.
Yes.
That's why we feel them different. And no, we are not only assigned for one person in this lifetime. If you think of a soul family, we are big soul families. We have many. So we don't need to fear. And if I spend 10 years with someone, I can, and even if they leave me, I can release them in love. I don't say that I'm going to come to that place at day one. No,
No.
that's not going to happen because it's a process, you know.
Yes.
But we can come to that place, and that is perfect because Do you really want to tie someone to you that doesn't want to be with you? No.
No, and I see this so often when people are in relationships, and the fear of letting go and the fear of facing the fact. I mean, they throw all the things. Well, what did I do? I'm wrong, and everything else. I'll never find someone, and it comes from fear. It comes from fear, and when you are truly loving yourself, fear doesn't come into the equation because you're looking from a different perspective, and you go, well, this isn't going to be real comfortable for a while. However, we'll make it.
Exactly. And there are so many ways of being separated with someone. Someone leaves you, someone dies on you. That's another way of feeling
Oh
that
yeah.
loneliness. And that also creates, and or someone becomes
Ill.
heartbreakingly sick,
Yeah.
and there's no hope for them that they can't actually recover. So why hang on to someone that probably or maybe will spend, I'm exaggerating a little bit, right? But will spend years in a hospital bed without being able to care for themselves. I
Yes.
think that it needs courage sometimes. And this is not something easy either. It's very, very hard.
Yes.
But do you want to keep someone or are you ready to release them?
Yeah.
Right?
I saw the greatest example of love that I thought, wow, that is what it's all about. Now, my parents didn't have an ideal relationship, and my father was not the greatest of the greatest or anything like that. But they lived with me for about 4 years um, after they weren't able to take care of themselves, and they both had easy chairs, and they would be sitting side by side. And I'd see my mom, and she'd reach over and she'd touch my dad's hand, and he'd bat her away. And then she'd reach over and touch his hand, and she'd bat him away. And they just had this little rapport between them. Now they weren't having fantastic sex. They weren't having great discussions. They weren't conquering mountains, but they had that little spark that was between them. And I thought, that's really love, is to still have that little bit of connection where you see other people and they're just, I mean, any age, and they're walking along talking on their phones. There is no connection. And I thought, well, that is a sign that there's really something between those two people. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And feeling comfortable with someone. But no one is going to have a long marriage without it going a little bit up and down because it's
Ooh,
our world
it
here
is.
where we live
Yes.
in. It is.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean because someone says something one day that I'm going to be angry for 10 years. I can also forgive because we are people. We
Yeah.
are souls being people here, incarnated, right? Having
Yep.
this human experience.
Mhm.
And look at it as a trial of some sort. I don't mean a trial when you go to court. I mean like a playground, right?
Yep.
So we have the possibility to just sit like this, rolling our thumbs, or step into life and experience life,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And if you love yourself, you're willing to just go, okay, this is going to be interesting, and uh, and if you, I think that has helped me get through so much, and even I'm doing physical therapy now. I just had it. My knee is now 9 weeks old, and it's doing beautifully. And I keep challenging my my physical therapist, and I said, when can I do this? When can I do that? And because I'm still vibrantly alive, I'm still willing to help myself. Because why? Because I love myself, not
Yeah,
egotistically, but I love being in this beautiful world. I love watching the flowers grow. I love watching my clients when they uh, get through a crisis. I love being alive. So I have to
yeah,
love me first.
yeah. And my sense is that when we are incarnated here, it's easier for us to merge the gap between our soul and the spirit that is already perfect and knows everything
Yep.
with this human experience when we come in without a map, without anything, right? And just supposed to, yeah, great, I'm here again, right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
I I would like to touch a little bit around Mercury retrograde because we are so fortunate it's coming back again. It's
yes, it
starting
has come back.
tomorrow, February 26th until March 20. It's in Pisces and it's connected to spirituality and intuition this time, sensitivity. Pisces is a water sign. So, emotions, feelings, how fitting for this show, isn't it? But Mercury retrograde sometimes has it does create chaos. It can create chaotic things around technical stuff. We experienced that before we came live. We did.
Yes.
Yay. Um, and Mercury is because I'm a Gemini, so it's my planet. So of course I'm going to be affected, right? Always. But there are actually ways to kind of make it a little bit easier. It doesn't mean we can prevent everything, but we can restart the laptop, we can restart the phone, we can think of things, not being last minute to things, right? Having time ahead to fix things. And also when it comes to communication, because Mercury retrograde and Mercury does um, affect communication. So when I want to come through with something, I want you, Corinne, or someone else to understand what I mean. I can, it's like asking for a receipt. So did you really understand it in the way I meant it, not in the way that you're going to take it, right?
And that is so important, especially when we're communicating with other Homo sapiens, because just taking that time to clear it up takes away so much chaos that can be
Exactly.
because we misunderstood. And
Yeah. And it's easier, we can, if we can push forward, for instance, not having very, very extremely important conversations. Maybe we take them later on if we can. If we cannot, we're not supposed to fear that either. And it's easier face to face than it is when I write a text, because text, you're going to take the text as you interpret it, not maybe necessarily as I meant it, right?
that's right.
Um, it takes real skilled talent to come through with the text, to be honest. You
Yeah.
know, Mercury retrograde can feel tricky, but with the right mindset, it becomes a chance to slow down and realign.
Yes.
And it's a very introvert energy. It's excellent to use to look within. It's brilliant to look within.
Yeah.
So pausing and reflecting, checking details, reconnecting with people, being flexible, right?
Yes. It's part of that spiritual hygiene that we keep talking about. You know.
Yes, it is. I didn't actually prepare 5 questions for this time. I'm sorry, but we did. You're off the hook.
Well, and it's beautiful. There again, the universe has taken good care, because I just
Everything.
realized that I am going to have to get to physical therapy and leave in the next 30 minutes. So that's okay. The universe said we're just gonna, and I think you were asking me questions all through this. You were slipping those in there.
Yeah, I
I
did.
I
I
heard
did. I
those.
didn't collect them at the end. I did. I asked you. Yes.
Yes.
So I think we are wrapping this up then. And
Yes.
you can find upcoming and past episodes at youtube.com/at Cosmic Guardians 111/streams and youtube.com/at Angel Place on Earth/streams. We will stream this after the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians. If you want to connect with me or Karine, read articles and find out more about us, you can find information at angelplaceonearth.com/Cosmic Guardians. And also there's a third place to find upcoming and past episodes, and that is angelplaceonearth.com/upcoming-past. And our next upcoming show is going to be next Wednesday. That's going to be March 4th. And we are so excited. We're going to have a wonderful lady from California, I think, um, Joan of Angels, Dr. Joan Hangerter, if I spell that, pronounce it correctly. And we will talk about awakening the miracle frequency, angels, soul vision, and living with purpose.
Wow.
She's a very experienced soul, and she's going to kick off a great energy. We're going to have a beautiful time next week.
Yes.
So you are also welcome. We do go live for you every Wednesday in US and Europe, and every Thursday early morning in Australia. Our future, always our future. No matter what we do, it's always our future. So, affirmation, going to try to see if I can make one just out of my head, out of my heart. Um, I honor myself. I love myself. I accept myself just as I am. And therefore I accept others just as they are. I'm
Yes.
not attached to anything. I'm independent. I'm strong. I have clarity and I'm compassionate and I'm truthful and authentic.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to add with Louise Hay as a song that got me through a lot of dark days. And the song was, I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I love myself the way I am, but I can always rearrange.
Oh,
And
that's beautiful.
and there's more to it, but I listened to that until I wore out the, in those days it was called a cassette paper. It's a little square thing that has tape around it. But it really got me uh, through my darkest days. But the love.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a way to say affirmations is a way of talking to yourself,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
really pondering about what you're telling yourself. That's important. What are you saying to yourself? Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we say thank you for joining us in this beautiful exploration of love versus attachment. And we wish for you to continue to grow and dig within yourself. Don't listen to the voice of self judgment, listen to the voice of self love.
Yes.
And may we each walk with greater clarity, compassion towards ourselves and others, create connections that feels truthful and authentic, not based on fear or neediness or anything that's not going to bring out the best of the relationship. So until next time, we say with infinite love, peace, and joy, we see you, we hear you, we honor you, we love you, we appreciate you.
Yes. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.